Right. Good morning, venerable teachers and also classmates. So thank you so much. Let's welcome with Group 9 presentation. So today our group presentation gonna talk about the skill which is related to reading and writing. So there are two members of my group. I am Srinas and also Ms. Sakheng. Without further delay, we're gonna move to the concept of the topic today. A bad problem with the unit. So, friend, just in case if you would like to go through the book, so please go to unit 18. So you will see the reading skill. So please move. So the concept, the learning.
Sorry.
This is the unit. Just please. This is my unit outline. So for the teaching reading, it just covers only like reading part, intensive reading, vocabulary, analytical reading, reading aloud, extensive readings, and also the last part is reading sequences. Please, please move.
Can you see
All
it
right.
now?
All right. Here is my learning objective. So by the end of this unit, I think all the participants will be able to identify the purpose of enhancing vocabulary acquisitions and comprehension skill. So just because we are talking about reading skills, so of course just like focus on something which is related to the reading and enhancing vocabulary and also like come up with the comprehension skill. And number two, clarify the teaching skill strategy. This part for each part I gonna including which is some strategy to teach a reading skill for the class. For the last part, assess the new word and phrases of reading skill to contribute to the second language communication. Thank you. Please move. Just because of our time, it's not good for me, and we just want to come up something short, so I gonna skip for discussions question. But I think this is very important if we have time to discuss because like the first point we just want to know or clarify about some way that when we teach the reading skill, so how to apply the reading skill in the class and how do we enhance the vocabularies and also language fluencies and also the comprehension skill in the class with the student. And then number two, the kind of the affective strategy for the teaching skill, and the last part kind of like the assessment tools or effective way to assess the reading comprehension skills. So just because of I think we don't have time, so I'm gonna skip this part, sorry. So let's move next. uh, Next please. So this is one of the interesting part. I think I really want the participant here to to contribute with my presentation and also interact if you want to share something. So I know like mostly of the participant here are teachers. So maybe you have some experience about the teaching reading. So if we like come up with if we have a tech like two tech that it just shows on the slide, so what is the strategies or any technique will you apply in the class? If anyone want to share, please. If no, I gonna skip. So thank you. I think it better gonna skip. So because of the answers, I'm gonna show you for the last part as well for the reading consequences. Thank you. Please move. And this is for the introduction for the reading skill. So when we're talking about the reading skill, it's kind of like one of among the macro skill for the teaching when we teach English. So reading skill is the part of receptive skills, or we can say output. And for the reading part, there's two types or two kinds that we just apply. Like we have like intensive and also extensive readings. The purpose that we just design a reading skill to apply in the class just because like we just to design to enable the student to develop their ability to read for skimming and scanning. Skimming and scanning here just a bit different. Skimming, the student read for the whole text and kind of like the general, not specific. But for the scanning, it's like intensive. So they read with the specific purpose. Um, Teaching reading to improve the student knowledge of vocabulary, grammar, spelling, and also the punctuations. Of course, when we have one tag or one reading for the student, so based on the level of the student, of course, for the I remember the traditional style. Maybe it is related, not maybe it related to the intensive reading. Uh, when I was young, so when the teacher teach reading skill, so he or she just give us a text or open the book, read the text. But before we learn reading, so of course teachers gonna like finding the difficult word that the student ask, and then he just write down on the board and then give the definitions in Khmer or English based on the reality. And of course, when we just like teaching reading, so it gonna enhance for the grammar as well. When the student just read, they can clarify or identify some of the grammar that is just like appears in the reading, and the spelling and also the punctuation that happen in the reading text. And the last one, understand the meaning of the word, of course, in English, because we are non-native speakers. We have to understand a lot, like the teacher have mentioned last week. I have remembers. So when we learn English, we have to understand about. We have to clarify about the synonym, antonym, especially some reading just appear with the idiom as well. So this is the challenge part for the reading skill. So this is kind of introduction. So thank you. Please move. Now just come up with the intensive reading. So intensive reading here. This is kind of the object of the exercise to test the student ability to read. Intensive reading, as I have mentioned earlier, it is kind of like read. The student have to read and then find out the answers. For example, before we teach, we just like assign the student with there are many techniques with the student, so with the teachers. So the teachers can ask the question, kind of like filling gap, true or false, or any based on the teacher technique. So uh, after the teacher asks, and then the teacher's gonna give the student like 10 or 15 minutes to read, but reading to find the answers. This is the purpose of reading in answers. And also the student get to read the question. Yes, of course, read the question before they read the text. So after they read the question, by the end of the text reading, so they will be able to answer the question and give them an idea of how to read and what to look for. Yes, of course, because the teachers have to give the student clear instruction about intensive readings already. So by the end of the reading, we can create activity with the student by answering the question or any activity. The last point is student think the answers, and we can ask them to refer part of the text, sentence, phrase, and also the paragraph. Thank you. That is all about intensive reading. Uh, for next part, it just focus on the point that we can create for the intensive reading activity. So this is very useful when we just apply intensive reading for the reading, teaching reading skill. So we just encouraging student respond. So according to Peter Watkin, 2011, suggests that the student can mark tag with symbols such as like tick if they agree the sentence. They can cross if they don't agree the sentence, or they can use like any symbol like I understand this, I this is surprise, shocking, or anything that just come up from the tag. And also, we can create like the pie or the kind of like the box like teacher just give them a tag and then write down 3 column of the box with like think I know and think I am not sure of and other thing I would like to know. So these are the point that the teachers can use it to apply in the class, and then this is very good to be interactive with the student after by the end of the tag. And one of the most important way of encouraging student engagement with the tag is like ask them whether they like or they don't like about the tag, and they can come up with any ideas. All right, so number 2 about the transferring information. So this is the way that the student demonstrate understanding of the tag by asking them to transfer the information. So this kind of the activity that the teachers can create, like we can create activity like ask the student to do like the pair work or group of 2 or 3, and then assign them to like switch the group to report to the other group about what they have done in their group. This is all about transferring information. So this activity, so it's just like enhance their comprehension after they have read the reading, and then kind of like enhance the vocabulary that they apply or they share with their classmates to understand what they are sharing information. And also, the student can describe or tell any information from the different points of view. And number 3 is all about the interrogative the tag. So here is this kind of the tag which is express opinions or which contains information that may type fiction can be promote critical thinking. Of course, this is one of the important part for the intensive reading as well. So we teachers we can come up with the like kind of the question. So like, do we believe the trash of what it is written of the text, or how is the evidence used to back up the writer's opinion? So how much does it is begin describe depend on the cultures, or how would it be changed in a different culture or something? This is just kind of the question that just come up from the book, but we can ask any question based on the realities in the class. And for this activity, even though like the small or the large class, so we can apply both because like we can ask as the whole class. And for this part, it kind of like critical interpretation for the student to develop a clear understanding of what they have read. All right. So for the next part, it's all about using a springboard. This is all about the like the student have read the text, and they just debate any problem that just come up for the text, or we just assign them to do a role play from the reading or any activity that just related to like the reading skill. And I think it is good because like this is the kind of like make the student working cooperatively with their friend and also enhance the vocabulary skill as well. And please move to the next part. The next part will talk about the vocabulary question. So according to Hish and Nation 1992, so he just mentioned that they just mentioned that the student need to know at least or about 95% of the word if they just want to understand easily of the text. Of course, I agree about this because like if we don't agree about if the student or the participant don't understand about the vocabulary when they just read the text, so that's the problem. They just like misunderstand or cannot comprehend any answers after reading the text, even though they just try to read like duplicate more than 3 times or something. But another things, some teacher just like when the student have a problem with the vocabulary, they not allow the student to tag the dictionary. They just like ask the student to read again and again until they understand. So sometimes like the first sentence come up with one difficult vocabulary, and the answer maybe appears on the second or the third sentences. This is what I have uh, gained from the other teachers. Mm, And for the vocabulary question, it is kind of like to encourage the student to read for the general understanding. And for vocabulary also we can use like dictionaries or any translation. So this is kind of like the strategy that teacher apply the class. So when we just teach reading, so we can use like grammar translation or something. If we just like teach English with the L1. And for the challenge, this is all related to like we gonna create a pre-teach as I have mentioned as earlier, like the kind of like the extensive reading. We just like come up with the reading for the general. So before reading, we just come up like the pre-teach, uh, find out the difficult word, and then write down on the board, and then get the definitions of the vocabulary before read. This is the idea from the Hati. I'm sorry if I just pronounced wrong. Not easy to read. Hachiko and also eat drink 20 and 7. So pretty can be animals effect on their capacities to comprehend the text as the whole class. And for the next part, it's all about the when we read, when we just teach reading, at least we have to think about the time. So limit the time for the student when they read, and also if they come up with a question, so of course we're gonna limit a word or the phrase that they just come up. And the meaning consequent, it is just like the activity to comprehend or ask the student to work together to share any idea or discuss about the tech. To reason which individual work as the meaning. Next is all about like two reason, two word which individual student did not know as for the meaning, and the last one is like understanding every word has been changed to a comparative learning test in its own right. So please move to the next part. So for this part, it's all about analytical reading. So this is one of the main reasons that language learner read to improve their lexical and also grammatical knowledge. Um, so in com, so here is the reason or the part that the student can this is the benefit one that the student after reading, so they just like understand like the aspect from the text, the form or the grammar rule from the text that it just like appears in the they can take note Number three, like they understand about the lexical. So a lot of vocabulary come up from the text. Sometimes they just like not put the same word, like kind of like they put the synonym and word and also phrase. And the student also can analyze how the paragraph are constructed or discuss the issues about the punctuations, and to have them to write appropriately with them like the genres, and also like the tag timing usually take place after the student have read for comprehension. And according to the SIRE 2010, it sometimes seems if like English is everywhere, whether it's on the awareness of New York or street. So they just come off like the I mean for this idea, they just use English code for the street sign, kind of like in to read and then to understand about the vocabulary. And for the last part, the student at almost any level will get the benefit from collecting, analyzing, and also discussing the short text they find all around them and reading their way through the linguistic landscape, and also kind of like the be motivating. This is according to Churns and Dole 2014. So thank you. Please move. And this is read aloud. So for read aloud here, so this is kind of like the student read aloud from their textbook or the tag. It is one of the traditional ways or oldest or common procedures that the teachers use. Even though when I was young, read aloud is very important part for the reading skill as well. Like as we have observed, many students enjoy readings, enjoy the activity with the reading aloud, and this is the way that making the class, we just like avoid making the class quiet. This is like kind of like allow the student to show their potential about the reading skill. And this, according to the Gibson 2008, so when students try to read a sentence or a paragraph aloud, the intonation they use and where they place, this is unclear stress, sorry about a bit problem with the spelling, can give them can give a clear indication of where they do not fully understand what they are saying. Yes, thank you. Please move to the next part. This is all about the intensive reading. So, as I have mentioned earlier, intensive reading is kind of a traditional ways that has been encouraged the language study for the practicing reading. So, according to the McAllister's 2014, intensive reading is like reading a lot of easy, enjoyable book, and we know that the more the student do this, the better their reading and their English is general will become. Yes, and for the extensive reading, there's like a four part that we can use to apply in the class. Like number one, we can use like the material, some material that we can use to apply in the class.
Hello, Sena. I cannot hear you. It's okay.
Yes, teacher. So for the intensive reading material, So we can use like any material to applies in the class. Like the student can read whether they want to read for extensive reading. Of course, they just like they will probably want to read book written for competent English language speaking audience, but the lower level, this would clearly not appropriate. Okay, so for the material, we can design anything uh, for the student to comprehend their reading. So number two, intensive reading task. As I have shown you on the slide, so we're gonna create a small task for the student. And number two, talking about the book. So just make something interesting for the student. So let's talk about benefit or any important parts about the reading tag and intensive and also extensive. So we can apply both of this for the reading skill. According to the Walters 28, the more students read it, believe the better they get. Not only reading, but the vocabulary, recognitions, spelling, and also writing, and even pronunciation. Since the Catherine Walters point out, this is the experience the reader sub vocalize. Vocalize here is refer to the voice and what they read. That is like word in their heads. Thank you. Please move to the next slide. I think this is for the last part for me, reading consequences. So these are the following readings and consequence involve a range of activity that I found out from the book. So to engage with the full text, to understand the student overall meaning, use prediction activities, and also create writing, and also they can take a part of like puzzle activity to reassemble text. So let's see some of the reference they just found out from the book. Please move to the next slide. So I have like just want all of you to answers for the warm-up activity. This is kind of like the clue. So for example, we are teaching the reading skills. Of course, like for number one, example one. So we have aim, activity, skill, and also the label of the student, and also the age of the participant as well. If we have like one text, so of course before we read, we gonna like for this activity, kind of like uh, guessing or predicting. Like we have um give each student in the class like from letter A to letter E, and let them like close their eye, ask the student with the letter A, and then open. Can we just like uh, one letters open, and then let them close their eyes, and then show the word. Open the eye and then show the word, and then put the student in the group of five, and then discuss, and finally let them predict about the reading. And this is about the activity, and the end we're gonna have like the true and false activity, just like comprehends about what does the reading mean. And for the exercise number two, it is kind of like the filling blank. So the activity gonna be suitable for the large class if you just prefer. So if we assign the student with the filling the blank for the reading text, of course we just gonna create like try to make the student like guess a word based on the sentence. And also we also give a clue to the student like from number 1 to number 23, as I have shown on the slide. So like we just give a clue right by giving like the letters, one letter come up with a word like number 1, number 2, number 3. And then if they still cannot find out the answer, so the second step we're gonna give them like two letters of the word. So by the end we're gonna comprehend so how much they can get the answers. Okay, this is all about reading consequences. There are more, so you can go through the book because I think a lot of activity that we just like design based on the tech that we plan to teach. Okay, so for the next part, please. I think for this part, for the next part, I just quote from teachers last week. It's okay. Okay. This is kind of like the teaching reading tip. So one, so we can come up with a question first. As I have mentioned earlier, we can select like intensive. So ask the question first, and then let them read the text. And then number two, finding the keyword of each question, and then reading the passage for the skimming technique. Skimming here just like not reading for general, so reading for the specific purposes. And then the last one, finding the answers during their read. So at the same time, so they just read and then they can get the answers. By the end of the reading, they will be able to comprehend the text well. So I think this is the last part for me. So now I just want to give a floor to Ms. Sokhang to present about the writing skill. Thank you, teacher, Venerable, and also classmate for your pay attention. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zaina, for your hard working with your presentation. So now move to Sukhay. Sukhay,
Sorry, teacher. I didn't know that I was muted.
okay.
Lecturer, thank you so much earlier, Sisters Reina, for very comprehensive presentation. However, teacher and our classmate, do you want to have some break first? I mean, break before I continue my presentation. Because the next is another aspects like with the writing. So maybe you want some break first, or then I can continue after this. Or